They came to her door before sunrise, while coffee was still warm on the stove and her grandson slept on the couch under an old army blanket. She was a quiet woman, 58, church on Sundays, 2 jobs most of her life, raising a child that wasn't hers because family does what the law forgets. When the knock came, she thought somebody was hurt. Instead, 2 white officers stepped inside with cold eyes and a warrant built on a lie. They said she moved narcotics through her own neighborhood. They said witnesses named her. They said she was dangerous. And when she tried to speak, one of them smiled and said, "Save it for court." By noon, her picture was on the local news. By evening, her grandson was crying because kids at school called his grandmother a drug queen. And in that courtroom, they made sure humiliation came first. The prosecutor said she was pretending to be a victim. The judge leaned back with a grin like the verdict was already written. Every answer she gave was cut off. Every objection from her public defender died in silence. One officer pointed at her and said she resisted arrest. Another swore she confessed. They lied so easily it sounded rehearsed. Then they brought up her grandson. Said the boy was unsafe with her. Said the state might place him elsewhere. That was the moment her hands began to shake. Not for prison. Not for herself. For him. She looked around that room and saw people enjoying her collapse. The judge laughed when she asked to speak. He said, "This is a court of law, not a stage for stories." But she stood anyway. She said one sentence. "You forgot to remove the recording device." Silence. Nobody understood. Then the courtroom clerk froze. Because tucked inside the evidence bag, logged by the officers themselves, was the digital recorder they had taken from her purse the day they raided her home. They thought it was a pen. It wasn't. She had been wearing it for 6 months. Not because she was paranoid. Because she was a DEA field agent working undercover on a corruption case tied to police evidence theft. The judge's smile disappeared first. Then the prosecutor stopped breathing through his mouth. Then one officer whispered, "No." The recorder played, and every lie came back alive. Jokes they made in the patrol car. Plans to pin seized drugs on a civilian. A voice saying, "Nobody questions a black woman in cuffs." The courtroom did not erupt. It collapsed inward. Even the bailiff looked sick. Then the back doors opened. Federal agents walked in. Not fast. Not dramatic. Certain. One by one, badges rose. One by one, names were called. The same officers who shoved her into court were ordered to stand. One tried to run. He made it 3 steps. The judge asked who authorized this. She looked straight at him and said, "You signed the warrants." Turns out the corruption file had included him too. Kickbacks. Suppressed complaints. False convictions. Years of ruined lives. And now every victim sat inside one room. Her grandson was brought in after recess. Small hands. Trembling lip. He saw his grandmother free her wrists and ran to her. That was the first sound in that courtroom nobody could control. A child crying with relief. The prosecutor resigned before sunset. The judge was escorted out through the same side door defendants use. And the officer who called her dangerous looked at her while they cuffed him and asked if she had known all along. She said, "I knew the truth doesn't hurry, but it arrives." And the man who mocked her in chains stood before the bench he once owned, while the grandmother he tried to bury walked out holding her grandson's hand, and he heard his own sentence read back to him.